Welcome back, friends and colleagues, to another GB Studio tutorial video. In this one, we're going to be making an inventory system. I'm using my game that is currently unannounced, unreleased. It's in progress. We'll see how it goes. I'm making it with one other friend. It's a sneak peek, so let me know what you think. And firstly, I'll show you what I've made so far. I'll show you what it needs to change and how to change it and what I did to even get to where I am. And hopefully you'll be a bit more confident about making inventory systems in GB Studio afterwards. So let's get started. Firstly, here's the game and here's the project. I've just migrated it to the newest version of GB Studio that I made a video on last. So let's see how that goes. But the idea is, if you press enter, you have a pantry, you have items, there are different kinds of items. You also have recipes here, and only one of them is unlocked. Have tips as well. Read a tip. Moss is great for making creams. How beautiful, huh? So the idea is we have this screen. There's different parts in the menu in this screen that you can view extra things. Currently, the question marks mean you haven't found it. So once you do find it, for example, let's pick up the moss and pick up this frog. When we go back in our inventory, we now have one frog and one moss. And that is the basis of how the inventory system works for the player. When they turn those, for example, the frog into frog's legs and stuff, then they find it in their inventory under prepped. And once they make a potion, they'll find it in the potion part. There's also the recipes. They can find the recipe and it unlocks them in the recipe thing. Basically, the player finds it and then it gets opened up in their inventory. So let's show you how that works. Here's some secret sauce, right? The idea is that we have each screen already having the text on it, right? So if we go into GIMP, my image editing software, then we can see we can have items here, prepped ones here, potions here, and I'll export all of these separately, and there'll be the backgrounds in the game, in the menu, right? By having all the information that we give, it means it's solid and unchanging, and we don't have to worry about messing it up too much, right? If you wanted an inventory system that was more flexible, where if you pick something up, then it's at the top of the list, then you'd have to think about this completely differently, and you may run into struggles that I haven't had to worry about, right? But this is the main idea of having it display on the background, and then if they find it, it shows. So let's keep looking. And if you guys do want me to make that system that is more flexible, then I'll definitely consider it. Let me know in the comments below. But here we go. So the idea is that on the scene initiate, we have these scripts here, and basically they're just checking a flag. So if the got item is ticked yes on charcoal, then it basically displays the number that is in the inventory. And I'm already seeing that we're 5 steps ahead, but this will make sense in a minute when I go backwards. But we're just seeing what we have right now, okay? So if you don't have that item, then it has the question marks. And this might not be the best one to do it on because all of the blue lines are in the way. Let's do it on the third one. So the frog, like we've seen, right? So right now, if we were to load this scene without these events on the right, we'd see X00 frog. However, because of this one here, we've got the items flag frog, and if it's true, then it displays the value in the variable of frog, and otherwise it covers it up with the question marks. Okay, and I'll show you what these events are right now, and I'll explain them to you. So for example, the first one is add flag. So when you pick up the frog, it adds a flag of the items. So basically all I did was find a fresh variable, let's imagine this one, and I renamed it to got items, like I'm doing right now. And then I renamed the flag, for example, this one, to frog. And then I ticked it. So I ticked frog. So on the frog, when you interact with the frog and the frog disappears, it says got frog, right? The flag now has the frog ticked. And unless you clear all the flags or set the flags to be clear, then there's no reason why this would be ever unticked, okay? And once the player's found it, it should always be ticked. We also make sure that the math function, let's say a new variable, right? We're imagining we're doing this for the first time so that you can, if you're new to GB Studio, you understand what's going on. I might be a bit quick, for example, like knowing what the variable is, like I knew it was a math function, but hopefully, you know, if you watch enough of my videos, it kind of, and you try it, if you try it yourself, then you should get it, right? So yeah, we're on variable 59. We want to rename it to, for example, frog or frogs. And then when you want to set or add, we want to actually add a value of 1. So let's imagine this is on our frog. We've just interacted with it. We've clicked got frog and we've added a frog. So now we technically have 1 frog in our inventory, and the inventory knows that we've collected a frog in the game, right? This means that it doesn't go back to being hidden and secret once you've like spent your frogs, right? Once you've used all your frogs up, it will all stay unlocked, even if you have no frogs. So I'm just going to clear these. Okay, so we've talked about the variable, and this way of displaying a variable in the text is using the event called draw text. And the idea is you get to choose a position on the background. So let's try and I think we might have to hover over this and find it for ourselves. So if it's down at the bottom left of the screen, pantry 1 says X09, Y05, which matches up with this one. So let's just do it again, 9 and 5. And the idea is we can draw text. So it would be something like, hello, I'm text, drawn. And this is an easy way of adding text to your backgrounds. However, I've discovered an issue with using so much of it in the scene that I will now, basically I'm going to try and update my system to use tile swapping to hide the text on the screen, or to show the text on the screen. So yeah, this is basically how we do it. So to display the value, which is it looks kind of complicated. We've got, for example, X, which is just covering up the X that's on the screen underneath, and we could write the number we want, but we don't really want to do that. We want to say %D2, because we only want the variable we're about to put in to display 2 numbers, and this %D2 like limits the display of the variable that we're about to put in. So normally if you were to type the $ symbol and then the name of the variable, for example frog, we can use my frog variable, and then boom, it's displaying like 3 $ symbols there. But it could be up to like 5, I think, because the highest number a variable can be is something like 32,000, something like that. And so that would be 32,000. That's 5 zeros or 5 spaces it can be. By putting this together, by putting the D% thing, boom, we've made it so it fills up exactly the space that I've given it in the design of my background. And if you remember, in GIMP and in GB Studio and on the Game Boy, by using these 8x8 grid tiles, you can visually see where the Game Boy will be displaying when it talks about tiles, right? And we set the tile location. We're using the tiles that the Game Boy uses, so we're like working with GB Studio and not against it right now. And then the opposite thing I've done with the displaying the value of the frog or the variable of the frog, I just put in question marks. And then that just hides what's underneath. And this is the problem I'm running into that I want to talk to you about today. And it's because text is overflowing. When we use the draw text, and currently each single one of these question marks has been drawn on the screen using the draw text function, right? Which is beautiful. It's fantastic. We don't have to replace the tile and construct a weird system of telling the engine where and what each text is. Instead, I can just draw the text and it just cover up what I need it to cover up. And it's pretty simple. I don't have to use tile switching, which can be very complicated and annoying. But let's see the problem that I need to fix. When we, read this recipe, collect newt, do this, collect a snake, then do that. You see how the first few ones are now getting overwritten. And we've lost basically the draw text data from the previous thing. And I believe this is just a simple fact of the text system doesn't expect me to be drawing text on the background. And so it's overwriting it as if it would overwrite its own, text along the bottom, which is an unfortunate truth that they might be able to fix, but we don't need to worry about fixing that because we have a different fix, right? And that's what this video kind of is half about. And you see, the more text you add, the more it just covers up what you originally drew and looks worse and worse and worse, right? So we're gonna fix that, where instead of hiding the text with the draw text, what we actually want to do is use tile swapping. And I've made loads of videos about it before, when it was more difficult, but this time it's easier than it used to be, right? I've made videos updating it, but you might not have seen them. Replace tile at position. So what we want to do is find the tile, and it's obviously, we already know it's 9 and 5. And we want to find a tile set, which we don't technically have, I don't think. We can look in our images and see which tile sets we have. Tile sets. Here we go. This is currently using the tile set that I've made the backgrounds with. And technically, it's using this top right one, the very top left, is white. So we can use that. However, I'd want to make sure that I don't update that tile set in the future. So I'd want to make a simple tile set that is referring to this pantry inventory screen. So I'm going to do that now. And then we're going to come back and continue working on this. I can do it with you very quickly. The idea is we just make a new image, and let's just make it 8 by 8 because that's all it needs to be. And then it's already the right color, luckily. So I'm just going to export it as. I'm going into my documents and finding the assets folder, the tile sets folder, and I'm going to rename this pantry blank and export that. And now I've just done that, I've just remembered that we also want the question marks on it. So I'm going to change the canvas size to be, let's say, 32 wide. And let's put this nicely. Bingo. Turn on the grid. You can configure the grid in whatever software you use to be 8 by 8. And I use red color because it often uses the colors I'm using are green, and red is a nice contrast against black, white, and green. Get these question marks up, but basically I made a font, and that's actually how I'm doing this. Is I made my own font using a website called like Bitfont Maker or something. Hopefully I can just repeat that, So yeah, so I've done a bit of work to get to where this is. Let's try. And I might make some fonts for you guys in the future. and I might make a video about it. I've done a video about it before, I think, that uses that same website. But just doing an updated one to the current version of GB Studio would be smart. We're gonna have 3 tiles of replacing basically, and I'm gonna reformat how the question marks are. So let's re-export that to where we put it, and let's look back at the GB Studio. And what I want to do is replace this here with pantry blank, and then tile 0. And if you remember how computers count, they count from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3, right? They start at 0. So don't be afraid that the tile it starts on is 0. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm just copy and pasting this event, and I'm increasing that tile count by 1, and then I'm now moving them across to fill what I need them to fill. And I believe I don't need to go any higher than 2, although I have 4 tiles, which would be 3. The number 3 here should be fine. And I only want to replace the tiles that have text in, because otherwise I'm just replacing a blank tile. So if I remove this, or if I disable it for the time being, I can delete this one. I don't need that. And then press play again. Hopefully when it displays the question marks of the frog, they're not displayed where the text of frog begins, and they're instead displayed here, and it's done with tile switching. So if we look in the pantry now, the question marks on the frog are in the position I want them to be. Obviously, before they were kind of like in an arbitrary position. But now they're where the arrow is, and they're actually drawn in, not with the draw text function, but with the replace tile function. And that means that hopefully we don't get that overload when it comes to the reading the potions. So I'm going to quickly go through and try and do that on this screen to prove to you that we've fixed this problem. Okay, so I've gone through and I've made it so each of these, recipes is covered up by a replace tile script using the correct pantry blank thing, and I've disabled the draw text over instead, right? And let's now take a look how it works. So I click on invisibility potion. If you remember before, it took maybe 2 or 3. I think the next one it started redrawing the text on it, and boom, is now not doing it at all. So this is a lesson in, if you want to use the draw text, which it is extremely useful and quick, to not have text pop-ups. And if you need text pop-ups, like I need right here, then consider using tile replacement scripts instead. And if you want me to make a more dynamic inventory tutorial, right? Oh, do you see that? The potions. Okay, we've actually encountered another issue. If you have a look on the background of the recipe here, the PO of polymorph juice and the PO of potions are the same. And even, okay, yeah. And what that means is when it replaces the PO in polymorph, it also replaces the PO in potions. So this is going to require some extra little bit of work. But however, the fundamentals of this is still the same. It just kind of means that if you encounter that, you have to make sure that those 2 tiles are actually unique, and then draw one to look like the other. And that might not make sense, but I'll show you right now by doing it. So let's fix these issues in real time, and you can follow along. So what we need is something like this scene. So I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to write PO here. So we want to press view and then show grid, obviously. I want to cut this down to only be, I want to crop to selection, so then the scene is, this is exactly just 1 tile, right? And then I'm going to export it as, you know, PO, pantry underscore PO. Let's export that. And then if we also need to update this screen. So on the potions, we need to, actually, it's actually the potion screen, which has this one. I'm going to make it so this polymorph bit here has a unique, I just need to make it unique. So I've added this dot here. Just 1 pixel is enough to make this exactly different to this. I want to also make sure that there aren't any others that are doing exactly the same thing. I don't think so. But I now need to overwrite the pantry screen to be this one. And it's the pantry recipe screen. So let's overwrite it. Bingo. So now this has this tiny dot here. So when it replaces the tile of this point here, it's not going to replace the tile of this one up here. So now we just need to make it so when the polymorph juice potion recipe is unlocked, it doesn't have a dot there. That's all we need to do. So we need to find the recipe for the polymorph one. Should be flag number 6 or something. Flag 5 newt. Oh, that's wrong, hey? Okay, so this is actually wrong. Let's make sure this is fixed. Got recipes. There we go. Polymorph juice. So we're going to replace tile at that one and replace it with PO. Pantry PO. So when we have the polymorph juice potion, it replaces that tile with that dot. Now this is unfortunate, like we had this issue, but I'm glad we did, because it means that if you have it, you can fix it too. But it just feels a bit hacky, doesn't it? That we're like, you know, we're creating problems for ourselves by doing other things and then fixing it with other issues that create more issues. But all this means is we're aware of these issues and we can design it that doesn't do it. So for example, if we wanted to draw text, all we'd have to do is make it so we're not drawing too much text and we're not having the text pop up at the same time. So limitations make us stronger, and when we break those limitations, we learn, okay? So yeah, I'll leave it there. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. I'll put my patrons up on screen right now. Thank you for supporting me all this time. If you check out my Patreon, you'll see there's like a face-to-face tier, which means that we have a call and I can go through your project like I'm doing with my own projects here, if that would help you. But yeah, consider supporting me on Patreon, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.